There is a solution for that is sponsored by VARC Solutions. VARC Solutions helps small businesses succeed by delivering expert QuickBooks bookkeeping, consulting, quick-base development, and integrated solutions. If you own a small to medium-sized business that uses QuickBooks or QuickBase, the experts at VARC Solutions can help. In business since 1999, with people who care and the knowledge and experience to solve your toughest problems. Visit varcsolutions.com for all your QuickBooks needs. Welcome back to another edition of There's a Solution for That, where we help small businesses succeed by discussing challenging business problems and best-in-class solutions. All right, welcome everybody back to There's a Solution for That. We are so excited that you've come and joined us again this week. We've got a great guest on our show today. Vance Morris, who is the founder of Deliver ServiceNow Institute. Vance, give us a little bit of an intro. Who are you, and what kind of things do you focus on?
And the crowd goes wild,
right?
Right. Yeah. Well, the intro I use, I think, is instructive on how to separate yourself from everybody else. So I'm actually a former birth control factory security guard. And I guarantee that you're not going to run into any more of them today.
Yeah, I don't think I've run into a single one.
Exactly. So, but that's that catch, that hook that, people will say, oh, okay, what's this guy talking about? So, get people, ears perked up. But I was actually a college job, third shift overnight, making sure all the pills and everything were safe and secure. But my background is spent a little over a decade working for the Mouse down in Orlando, the Disney company, and was on the design team of a couple of their restaurant attractions. And after people leave, or after I left, people do leave the Mouse, and we do survive in the outside world. I had a couple other jobs, found I made a lousy employee. I just don't like to be told what to do. And I started my own businesses. So here in Maryland, I've got 3 home service businesses. And I've had for about 18 years, and that led me into coaching and consulting. About 10 years ago, people were asking me, well, geez, you don't look like you're working too hard. How are you doing all that? So I started coaching and consulting, and that kind of brings us to today.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, actually, we've actually talked to several folks that used to work for Disney. I know my cousin back in the day also did a little stint with Disney in the marketing realm. So it's a great organization. I know a lot of people that go start in working with Disney and then eventually come out have usually a wealth of knowledge and a wealth of experience that can be translated into other opportunities. And sounds like you're exactly the same scenario where you've taken that amazing experience, and I'm sure there's probably some good with the bad, right? But what we're going to be talking about today is sounds like is some entrepreneurial stories, some ways of helping entrepreneurs, small businesses be successful. And so thank you for joining the show. One of the things that I wanted to ask you first, because again, our show is a little bit about problem solution, like what is the solution, like what is the problem? And I know that like one of the things we talked about was some businesses, some industries, there's a large likelihood that you'll fall into that commodity trap. Okay. You're just like everybody else, and what sets you apart. And so I know you've got some experience in that. So maybe to kind of talk about how to not become a commodity.
Sure. And these are lessons that I took from Disney. So as I mentioned, my home service businesses, one of them is a carpet cleaning company. And, so talk about a highly commoditized business. I mean, there's hundreds, thousands of them. But we knew that when I started the business that we were going to be going after an affluent market. So we really dialed in who we were going for. Okay. And on top of that, we were going to have premium pricing. So between those two criteria, we eliminated a lot of prospects, a lot of the marketplace, because we just weren't going to be for them. So that's one step in separating yourself from everybody else.
To
And that's
finding
really,
who your ideal client is, basically,
yeah,
right?
yeah. Well, I mean, that, and then doing all of your marketing towards that particular demographic. So coupons are not something that I use because, well, the affluent really, that couponing doesn't resonate with them. However, providing a great experience does. Starts with the website. So, the website is easy to navigate. It's congruent with what we do. But where the rubber hits the road is when we're actually at the customer's home. And so this is where we bring the Disney magic, so to speak, in. And we are all about performances. So if you remember Disney, they have their employees are called cast members, and the cast members are performing a role in their show. So if we want to just take that and extend it, my employees, my carpet cleaners, are playing role in my show, which is my company, which we go out and do cleaning. So when you're trying to separate yourself, you want to look at the boring and mundane things you do day in and day out that every other business does in your industry, and just figure out how to make an experience out of that one thing. So map out your customer journey or just pick a couple of highlights and focus on one that's really going to have a big impact on your business. So a quick example is one of the boring, mundane things we have to do is get into the house. If we can't get in, we can't clean. So I've scripted this whole thing out, and it starts in the street actually. So my guys park in the street. They don't park in the driveway. God forbid I've got an oil leak. Now I got something else I got to clean up. Technicians get out in a clean uniform because they carry extra uniforms with them. They don't smell. Because I don't allow cologne or smoking. So, I mean, there's nothing worse than the guy smelling like the Marlboro man who just took a shower and Axe,
Yep.
coming into your living room. It's just not pleasant.
Yep.
Um, and so they'll approach the door. They've got a special mat with them and a little gift, and we lay the mat down, which is just a logoed floor mat. We knock on the door. We don't ring the bell because friends knock. We take a couple of steps back. Mrs. McGillicuddy answers the door. We say, "Hi, my name's Josh. I'm here to create your healthy home. May I come in?" So we don't say we're there for carpet cleaning. We talk about actually our bigger mission, which is creating healthy homes.
I love it.
And of course, we don't just barge in. We wait for the customer to allow us in. So when she says, "Yeah, sure, come on in," then we do an exaggeration of wiping our feet on the mat. Then we put little booties on our clean shoes. And as we're walking in, we give Mrs. McGillicuddy a gift. Now, when was the last time you had a home service person, pest control, plumber, carpet cleaner, give you a gift before they did any work? And sometimes even before we knew we had the job.
Right.
I'm going to hazard a guess, probably not too often,
Right.
if at all. Um, so right there, that has created a wow moment. That's created a, oh my God, you'll never guess what happened when moment. And that's how you get people talking about you. So if you want
Yeah.
those strong referrals, that word of mouth marketing, well, you got to do stuff that is word of mouth marketing worthy. And we found by giving a little $5 gift, I mean, it's just a little blue box, a bottle of spot remover, a bag of cookies, and a note from me saying, "Thank you for allowing us into your home." Um, that we're just known as, the people that give gifts.
Yeah.
And it makes your business tellable. And coming, think about it. The last time you got your oil changed, did you go home, sit down at the dinner table with the whole family and say, "Oh my God, you'll never guess what happened at the oil change today"? I mean,
Yeah.
that conversation just doesn't happen.
No, this is fantastic, Vance. And when I think back in my career and also just as a homeowner, right? What are the experiences that I remember? Or as a car owner, what are the experiences that I remember? And I think you'll appreciate this. It actually doesn't take that much, right? I mean, you don't have to go too far because the general average is pretty low, pretty low.
Yeah, the bar is set
Um,
very low,
there's
no
this
doubt.
one place that I go to get my car oil changes done, and quite frankly, I will only go to this one place, okay, because they when my car is ready, they drive it up to the front, where I can get in it. I don't have to go into their garage. They
Right.
open up the door and stand next to the door, waiting for me to get in. Of course, then they take that thing that's in the floorboard out, so I'm
Right.
not having to drive away with this floorboard thing that's supposed to, protect the dirt. It's like, and I think this is to your point. These are just little touches, right? These are little things that add up and add up and add up. And it's like you walk away going, gosh, that was a very exceptional experience. And all I was expecting was to getting my oil change, in 20 minutes for cheap. Right?
And think about, what did it cost that business to do that for you? I mean, 3 cents in that sheet of paper that they put on the floorboards, but
Yeah.
everything else is just actions from the employees.
And training, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, yeah, definitely.
Training the
Lots of
team
training.
on this is how we do this.
Yep,
This is how to use your phrase, this is how we run our show.
100%.
I love it. I love it. This again, this is just so simple, but I think as business owners and employees in a business, it's easy to forget. It's easy to neglect, and it's easy to just kind of show up, do our job, go home, check the box, get the paycheck, send the invoice, get paid, right? But I mean, the whole thing that you just kind of laid out was really just sort of like breaking down that customer experience from, and I'm sure it even starts before you show up, right? There's probably things you do from a call or email, how you answer the phone, all those different things are probably setting the standard as you go. What's interesting about this too, and I was just reinforcing the point you're making there when it comes to businesses that are very easy to commoditize. I go to, quite a few networking events, and no matter what networking event I'm at, there's probably at least 4 or 5 insurance guys, and there's probably 4 or 5 financial planners. And, to me, they're all the same, right? And so as you kind of consult with businesses and customers in different industries, what is your general approach to helping them see those wow moments?
Sure. Well, as I mentioned, the mapping out your customer journey is really the first step, because that identifies each point where your company touches the customer or client or patient. I use the words interchangeably.
Yeah.
Um, and once you do that, you look at it and you prioritize, okay, where am I going to get the most bang for my buck by creating an experience around this thing? Maybe it's answering the telephone. It doesn't cost you anything to change the way you answer the phone, but it could have a significant impact on your close rate or your conversions or whatever you want to call them. Actually, I had an insurance guy down south he already had a good shtick. He loved rock and roll, so he had Who records and autographed guitars all around his office. I mean, he was rock and roll nut. Um, and when you call any insurance company, it's usually something along the line, thank you for calling Dave's Insurance. How can I help you? Very boring, very mundane. Everybody says it. Well, with him, we really, and it was actually one of his employees that came up with this when we were doing a brainstorming session. So it wasn't even him. She said, well, why don't we answer the phone? Thank you for calling Dave's Allstate, the agency that rocks. So it's different.
Yeah.
It sets you apart. It's just like my birth control factory security guard thing at the beginning. That's either going to, and your marketing is designed to do two things: attract the people you want and repel the people you don't want. And just by answering the phone that way, they're sifting, sorting, screening out people that would be lousy customers, and attracting the ones that would be great. Again, cost absolutely nothing to change the way you answer the phone. So it's not like you're investing in infrastructure. You're not building It's a Small World in your waiting room or anything crazy like that.
Right.
Um, so you find those points and find the one, whether it is something that you're really horrible at right now, and just by improving it, you're going to improve your customer retention, word of mouth marketing, or you find something that might be the most bang for your buck, dollars wise.
Yeah.
Um, and so like for that gift I do with the carpet cleaning, it starts for us at one, I modeled it after look, we all go to parties. When you go to a party, you bring a bottle of wine, you bring some, an appetizer or something. And I figure, well, we're going to somebody's house. We should bring something.
Right.
Right. But what it started was a process called reciprocity. I give something to you, you feel compelled to give something back to me. So when we go into our presentation of our packages, we saw a 23% increase in our mid-tier package when we implemented that gift,
Mm,
which if you want to translate it to dollars was about 65, $70,000 a year in extra sales
nice.
just by implementing that little $5 gift. So that's where you can actually see a real ROI
Yeah.
on changing your customer experience.
I love it. I love it. In fact, like when you talk about the answering the phone, it reminds me back in the day, Zig Ziglar, I think he was a big proponent of like, it's a great day at, so and so, right? Versus just hello.
Right.
So I love that. And in fact, just as you're talking, my mind is just going 30,000 miles an hour. I'm just like, gosh, how could this apply to so many different industries? And you think like, okay, what's a typical experience when you have to call an attorney? Well, they send you a bill. you get,
Yep.
there's nothing special there. It's just like, how can I help you? Here's what we can do. Here's the retainer you need to pay us, right? There's no attempt to create an emotional connection, or a wow. It's more just like, look, we are off, we're experts at this topic. We can help you, right? So also very logic driven. So I can just imagine, depending on the industry, we're in the Texas area primarily. We have clients nationwide, but we have a big presence in Texas, and so there's a lot of oil and gas, right? I can just imagine, in the oil and gas industry, whether it's oil field services, or buying and selling the materials from the oil field, there's probably not a lot of gifts being handed out when you walk in the front door of some
Right.
company, right?
Yeah.
Just as an example, right?
Yeah. And it doesn't even have to be a gift. I mean, the way you treat your customer. So let's take like the invoice or a proposal. So like I work with a number of financial advisors, and I'll ask them, okay, well, if you get a new client, what is that worth to you in your first year? And we'll say anywhere between ten and $30,000. And I'm like, okay, great. How do you get your proposal or your package or your fees or whatever? How do you get that to your prospect? Oh, we just email it. And I'm thinking to myself, all right, pick you're emailing for a $10,000 investment. Could you spring for a 2-day FedEx? Now, it's going to get there in 2 days, or you can overnight it still. I mean, the ROI is, ridiculously high. You're going to, it's a $10,000 sale. I would spend the $20 in the overnight, to show the customer that I really do believe, I hold you in high regard. Your business is important to me. And I think that, email's great for certain things, but when it's something this important, I trust FedEx, and that has a certain cachet to it that, people go, oh my God, who sent me a FedEx? And so it doesn't even have to be the gift thing. It's just a how you operate thing. It's like, okay, how can we just make this one thing better? You know,
Yeah.
um,
It's just part of
so
the experience, right?
yeah, yeah. And a lot of businesses, I mean, you mentioned attorneys. I actually took 35 attorneys to Walt Disney World for a one of my 3-day boot camps. I was taking my life in my own hands, going with 35 attorneys, but they had a ball, and they found ways to adapt what Disney does into their practices. One guy actually had his entire team learn how to make coffee drinks. And they went out and they bought one of those things where you can sift the cinnamon into their logo on top of the foam.
Oh,
So
wow.
whether you were a partner in the firm, a paralegal, or an assistant, when people came into the office, you showed them into the nice room. They had a leather-bound menu that they opened up to the coffee drinks. And okay, while you're waiting for, your attorney, can I get you one? And then they go out, they make it, and they come back in with it.
That's
Now, I
awesome.
mean, what did it cost them to make, a few $100, maybe $1,000 for the coffee machine, a little bit of training, but
Yeah.
their close rate went up significant. I think I had like almost like a 30% increase in their close rate just by offering a lousy cup of coffee.
Yeah. Or hopefully a decent cup.
Well, decent, you know what I mean? I mean, it's,
Yeah, dude.
I,
That's the
it was
worst thing,
better
right?
than
It's like,
Starbucks, I can tell you that. So,
here's this cup of coffee. Oh, this is terrible.
yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah.
you gotta execute on that part really, really well. Well, this is great. So we've talked a little bit about like that initial customer experience, like getting that new customer to through the door, sign up, brand new client. But I know that customer retention is also another thing that you kind of tend to focus on too. So tell us why that's so important.
Well, certainly, and this is where most business owners will fall down. When I start working with somebody, I ask, okay, do you have a marketing budget? 99% of them will say yes. I said, okay, great. What is your customer retention budget? And they all look at me like I got three heads. So I said, well, we need to move some of that money and put it into customer retention because getting a new customer is expensive. A quick example, my carpet cleaning business, I just got the numbers for July, cost me $126 to get a new customer in the front door. Now that's not cheap. You know, my minimum charge is 200. So that leaves me $75 to pay the guys and insurance and all that.
Right.
Leaves a few shekels for me, maybe. Um, but to keep a customer, it only cost me $22 per customer per year.
Yeah.
So I'm already $102 richer by serving my existing customers. So there's definitely that. Um, and you have to have a system. It's not the customer's job to remember you. It's the business's job to remind the customers why they exist. So, and they always don't like to be sold to. That's really important because there's nothing worse than the only time you ever hear from a company is when they want to sell you something.
Right.
So I am a big proponent of newsletters, preferably in print, because if you notice, mailboxes are fairly empty these days. Not a lot of competition there. And the newsletter is designed to continue that emotional connection. So it's not a newsletter about, I mean, let's say you sell pumps for the oil field. It's not about your new whiz bang suckomatic, whatever, for the oil field. It should actually be something, it's almost Reader's Digest light. It should be entertaining. Actually, one feature that I have in there is called Stupid Criminal Stories. Um, and people, I didn't think people actually like, I didn't even know if people read my newsletter until I didn't run the stupid criminal section one time. And people, I would 8 or 9 calls say, where's the stupid criminal section? Oh, oh, you mean you read this thing? Great. Oh,
Yeah.
wait, you like that section? Great. So, it's really an extension of the personality of the business owner
Yeah.
um, through that newsletter. Um, and then once you're continually doing that and the customer doesn't feel like you're always selling to them, then you can send them a postcard or an email once a week, maybe offering a promotion. But I preach this is that you have to continue to deliver value and tell them that, hey, I'm giving you some good stuff here. Um, and it's the what have you done for me lately kind of scenario.
Yeah.
And that's how you stay top of mind. And if you put this retention system, even if you just do a newsletter and a postcard and a weekly email every month, you are doing 4,000% more than most small business owners are doing.
Yeah.
And it's that easy. You're literally putting a titanium fence around your customers, keeping them in and your competitors out.
Yeah, no, this is great stuff. One of the things that you mentioned, and I want to do a little follow up on, is you talk about like in your newsletter where you either took away or you stopped sending that one part once, right? About the criminal stories. It's like if a company is doing some things consistently over time, but they're maybe not sure if it's making an impact, It seems like one of the easiest ways to test that is to stop doing it one week or 1 month and just see if anybody notices, right? Because if nobody notices, if nobody complains, they're probably not looking at it. They're probably not concerned or caring about it. But it might be interesting to take it away once and just have somebody go, wait, where's my where's my newsletter? Where's my tip of the month? I didn't get it. Did you so I think that's kind of interesting. So here's a follow-up question for you. So you talk about like really just breaking down that initial customer experience. Do you do the same thing on the retention side? Like how do you take that same concept of uh, really leveling up the experience when it comes to retaining customers?
Certainly. So, and this is where you just let your imagination go. So, like in my carpet cleaning business, we take the top 5 customers every month, which essentially is who spent the most, and we send them a cake through the mail. So, Maryland has a state cake called the Smith Island cake.
Hmm.
Smith Island's just down the road from me, and I call them every month, and they mail out a cake for me. Now, who mails cakes? Especially, would your plumber mail you a cake? Um, so that's part of the retention piece. If you're in a business that you need to remind people that, hey, it's time for a service like HVAC, it's time for your tune-up, carpet cleaning, hey, it's been a year, you should really get your carpet cleaned again. Having a reminder system in place. So, hey, whether it be postcards or electronic, definitely. You're really limited by your imagination on what you can do, to keep customers. Um, Certainly customer appreciation, customer of the month. These are all things featuring customers in your newsletter. Everybody likes their name in print. I mean, just remember when
Right.
you were a kid and mom, cut the newspaper article out and, stuck it to the fridge. Well, they don't really do that anymore, do they? There's no more newspapers and nothing sticks to the fridge anymore, but
Right.
you kind
Right.
of get the picture.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. So like one of the things that I kind of thought of a while back, but we've never implemented it, maybe to my discredit here, but talked about, like so we're a QuickBooks bookkeeping company. We do accounting, QuickBooks consulting, all that kind of good stuff. And we have clients in so many different industries. And I thought it'd be kind of cool to be able to highlight some of our clients because our clients are doing exceptional work for their clients. And so if we have a megaphone or a platform where we can highlight one of our clients and what they're doing in the market, to me, that would be a really cool way of not just giving back, but also creating more of that relationship. And so never did it, but it's one of those fleeting thoughts like, God, that'd be kind of cool.
And we haven't talked about what I call promotional products or tchotchkes. But you know what? If somebody gives me a coffee mug, there is 0% chance I am bringing out that branded coffee mug when I have company over. No chance whatsoever. You'd be lucky if I even keep it on the shelf in my office.
Right.
So you have to think about the stuff that you're giving to your customers. I like to give things that will have an impact that doesn't necessarily have to have my name on it. It's actually better if it doesn't.
Right.
So we'll give for one of my businesses for the mold remediation company, we do a Cutco knife and cutting board as the gift when we're done remediating the home. And the cutting board is monogrammed with their initials, and so are the cutting knives.
Right.
Um, so every time they bring that cutting board out, whether it's for company or just to cut an onion, they're thinking of me because I'm the one that gave them this gorgeous cutting board.
Yeah.
So what can you put in front of them that they're going to see on a daily basis and remember who gave them that?
Yeah.
So I mean, like, for your QuickBooks business, for my consulting business, I have one phrase and it's you won't profit unless you implement. And so I had that created on canvas prints. I don't know if you've seen the,
Hmm.
the
Yeah.
print. I had them printed up, mailed them out to all of my clients. So now when I get on a Zoom call, 9 out of 10, that thing's hanging on the wall behind them. So Vance is in their office every
Right.
single day. You know,
Well, yeah,
so what can put in there that is functional or maybe inspirational, that is not an overt sales pitch, which slapping your logo on something to me is an overt sales pitch. Um,
yeah.
that's going to
Well,
just continually remind them that you exist.
well, I really appreciate that too. And the thing about the logo and the branded stuff, I in agreement with what you just said, I think is definitely overdone. And when I go to a conference or something and I get a swag item from a booth and it's got the logo and that kind of stuff, yeah, I mean, if I'm in that industry and it's somehow special because of the industry that I'm in, I might have it, but I'm not taking it home and you know,
Right.
using it in that way. And but I think what you said, and this is the part that I especially agree with, is like if it is special and meaningful, I will remember that you gave it to me. There's no
Yeah.
chance I'm not remembering you.
100%.
And that's the key.
And that's that emotional connection. Once you've created an emotional connection with a customer, they are not leaving you. I mean,
Yeah.
you got to work real hard. You got to screw up real bad to have that customer go somewhere else.
Yeah.
Um, so I mean, like in the newsletter, I shamelessly use my kids in my marketing. My daughter, when she was younger, did ballet.
Hmm.
And so at every recital, took a picture of her in her tutu, I put it in the newsletter. And we did that every year till she was like, I don't know, 11 or 12 years old. We were in the grocery store one day, and this lady comes running up to us. She goes, "Oh my God, Emma, how was your recital?" I mean, my daughter and I are looking at each other like, who's this lady? We're ready to go run and hide. And I had to think, oh, she's got to be one of my customers. She has watched my kids grow
Yeah.
up.
Oh, wow.
I mean, that lady's never leaving me until she dies or moves out of my area.
That's so fun. That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, when you talk about emotional connections, I think you've coined a phrase called moment zero. So tell us a little bit more about that concept.
Sure. I mean, it is your first impression. If you can create an emotion in your client or your prospect, and the emotion could be as, "Oh my God, thank God I found the solution." Or "Wow, they really get me." Or, if it's a Disney thing, "Oh God, I can't wait to go to Disney." Those are all, emotional feelings that you're conjuring up. And if you can get that on the first go around, I mean, the first 10 seconds, whether it be a website, a phone call, in person, whatever it is, if you can create that moment zero, it blocks out 75, 80% of all of your competitors. They
Hmm.
just they lock into you like, "Oh my God, they get me." So when somebody gets you, you don't want to go anywhere else because you don't know if the other person's going to really understand you.
Yeah.
So when you have that feeling, I'm not a woo-woo kind of guy. I'm not. And I'm very tactical. But so I approach this from a strategic and tactical perspective. It works. I mean, it just plain work. I mean, look at Apple. I mean,
So
Apple users,
well,
they're
let me ask you this question though. So, like, because when I think of my personality, and I'm very logical, structured. I think about the reasons why, and I don't always personally think about the emotional side. And I thank my wife, for having the complete opposite approach because she balances me out and helps me see what I don't see and things like that. But so let's say you've got an organization that is trying to come up with this emotional moment zero, but they don't maybe have that creative emotional brain. Like,
right.
how do they go from that to coming up with something that's going to create that connection?
Aside from calling me, which I certainly will take their call, is to go through an exercise of what is it that you are really selling. So if you're an accountant or QuickBooks, yes, the thing you deliver is, accurate books or,
Yeah.
records, financials, etc. But what are you really selling? Are you selling peace of mind to the
Mhm.
business owner that they know that their financial reporting is going to be spot on and there's no mistakes? Are you selling relief that, oh God, thank God I finally found a guy,
Yeah.
who knows what he's doing. Um, and once you go through that, what are you really selling? And you put it into the realm of, okay, well, what is the emotion? Is it relief? Is it, uh, you know, relief is usually the big one.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
if you can focus on relieving somebody's pain, relieving somebody's problem,
Yeah.
and they have that emotion when they find you, you're in like Flynn.
Well, and I
The
guess I guess what that takes is listening, right? Because
yeah,
when, like, I mean, our customers tell us all the time, right? Gosh, I'm so relieved I finally found, right, somebody who could answer my questions, or what
yeah.
have you. And so even if maybe we don't have that initial, like, our initial go-to is not the emotional part of our brain, if we can turn on the listening part of our brain where we listen to the customers and what they're telling us, sounds like that's part of how you can make that connection.
People buy with emotion, they buy with their heart, and then they justify the purchase with their brain
Yeah.
and all of the stuff that goes along with that.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you can find that thing that taps into the emotional part, you got them.
That's awesome.
And and I would put it like on a billboard as big as you possibly can on your website, that whatever that thing is, like, we are you know, um, we're the relief you're looking for, or we're the,
Yeah. The relief, the
the
confidence,
expert or
whatever.
accuracy, whatever.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, 100%.
Okay. Well, this is good. Well, as we start wrapping up the show, just what you've talked about is, just to kind of recap a little bit, you've talked about creating that first impression, creating some of those wow moments, with the customer experience, not just to get them in the door, but to keep them. And it's all about that emotional connection. So, if somebody, it sounds like you've got a lot of thoughts and a lot of expertise and a lot of examples to share. So if someone was trying to get a hold of you to kind of get some help with that, get some assistance, or if they just maybe just need somebody to kind of get their brain started down that
Sure.
road, how do they get a hold of you, or what kind of resources do you have to help them?
Yeah, the best bet, especially for a resource, I created what I call a hot sheet, which is 52 ways to wow your customer without breaking the bank. So it's 52 ways, low or no cost. Um, and it's one wow a week for you. So if you're not creative, look, I got a whole year covered for you. One wow a week.
Awesome.
And you can get that at wow52ways.com. And it really is just, taking the time, and you can use it for retention too. So there, wow and retention are kind of mixed in there. But yeah, I would certainly start there. It'll keep you busy for a little while.
Okay, fantastic. I got one more question I thought of, but so wow52ways.com, was that?
Hmm.
Okay. So my last question for you, just as we kind of close this out, is, you're talking about some really, really foundational things here, things that could help my business, things could help our clients. And so one of the things I'm curious about, you just mentioned, like, sharing this with some of your clients. It's like, if you've got this secret sauce, if you've got this magical formula to help create connections with a given business's clients, um, what are your thoughts about, like, sharing that secret sauce with those clients? Just I mean,
Oh
like, pull
yeah.
back the curtain, pull back the Oz, and look, this is what we're doing and why we're doing it, and maybe use that as a way to even add more value.
Certainly, 100%. Do that all the time. And, I'm not stodgy, or I never really hold back, with my idea. I just, the philosophy of, look, I'm, from an abundance point of view, I'm going to give you as much stuff as I possibly can, and it's always going to be my best stuff. Whether you choose to do something with it, is up to you. But yeah, I'll pull back the curtain on everything that we're doing.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, I go back to the beginning and you talked about like the Disney experience and, you walk in and you've got the carpet and you're wiping the feet. And it's like, you open up the invoice and there's the Disney magic dust that you
Yeah,
sprinkle, but then you clean it up.
yeah, exactly, right. But you can do that kind of stuff. I
Yeah.
mean, if you're sending bad news, like an invoice, all right,
Yeah.
what can you send it along with that'll soften the blow? You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah, I love it. Well, Vance, really appreciate you taking the time to come on our show, talk about your experiences, talk about some of these experiences and how to help customers. So, if anybody wants to get a hold of you, obviously you got wow52ways.com. How else do they get a hold of you?
you can go to vancemorris.com, which is pretty simple. Yeah.
So not Van Morrison,
No,
Vance Morris.
Vance Morris. Yes, I've had that happen, and then there's also Vance Morris and his Alabama Playboys, which is a Southern band. I'm not that guy either. So vancemorris.com.
Awesome, awesome. Well, Vance, really appreciate you coming on the show and appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you, Brad. Appreciate it.
Awesome, awesome. And for everybody else that is here listening and watching, again, hope you really enjoyed this episode. If you want more information from Vance, let me know. We can make sure and put you in contact. And just again, thanks for coming, and hope you enjoyed this. And please do share the show with other people that can take those experiences to help their businesses make a more emotional connection and ultimately lead to the decommoditization of their business so they can be a special and memorable business. So thanks again, and we'll see you next week.
There is a Solution for That is produced by VARC Solutions. This episode was produced by Ashley White and Aaron Riley. You can subscribe to this podcast on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Watch the video version on youtube.com/There's a Solution for That. Or visit varcsolutions.com/podcast, where you'll find our entire podcast archive, as well as show notes, links to solution providers, and complete transcripts of every episode. If you love the podcast, please leave a review with your comments.